Roman Polanski is one of my favorite directors because his movies are the work of someone who has immersed himself in life. He has a unique talent for building suspense and creating a real sense of atmosphere in a story. He takes the audience on deep, dark journeys, and although he rarely gives us happy endings, his best films are so cathartic and so personal that I find myself coming back to them over and over again. And in this video, I'm going to list my 10 favorite Roman Polanski films. Number 10, Oliver Twist. What sets Polanski's version of Oliver Twist apart from other adaptations is the filmmaker's own personal insights into childhood poverty. Polanski himself was also once a lost little boy, stranded in the ghetto, depending on the mercy of strangers, so it's easy to see why he relates to the writings of Charles Dickens. There are scenes in this film where Oliver, played by Barney Clark, is so cruelly treated by others that you're enormously relieved when a kinder soul like Mr. Brownlow, played by Edward Hardwicke, takes pity on him and actually helps him at a time when no one else will. Ben Kingsley's performance as Fagin captures both the corruption and the sadness of the character, and when I saw the film again, I found myself on the verge of tears during the finale where Fagin, now going insane in prison, bids a final farewell to Oliver. To quote Roger Ebert, Oliver Twist was Charles Dickens' first proper novel. In it, he found his voice by listening to the memories of the child he had been. Polanski, I think, is listening to such memories as well. Number 9, Death in the Maiden. Sigourney Weaver plays Paulina Escobar, a survivor of torture and rape. Ben Kingsley plays Dr. Miranda, who is trapped by Paulina when she identifies him as her abuser. Stuart Wilson plays Paulina's husband, Geraldo, who finds himself in the middle of their conflict and forced to take sides. After seeing the original play by Ariel Dorfman, producer Tom Mount correctly decided that Polanski was the right director for the film. The play was more ambiguous, but screenwriter Rafael Iglesias argued that the film would only work if Paulina told Geraldo about everything which Dr. Miranda had done to her, that no disturbing details be spared, and that the film conclude with Dr. Miranda confessing to everything. Polanski's response? Of course, not telling the audience whether or not he is guilty is bullshit. Death in the Maiden is one of Polanski's harshest films, and it takes you out of your comfort zone. But its intensity makes it an essential title in Polanski's later work. Number 8, Tess. Adapted from Thomas Hardy's novel Tess of the D'Urbervilles, A Pure Woman Faithfully Presented, Polanski's film has only grown more devastating with age. Natasha Kinski plays Tess Durbeyfield as a sad young woman who's been given so few options in life and is finally driven to commit murder. The villain, Alex Stokes D'Urberville, played by Lee Lawson, is at once charming and loathsome, luring Tess into a terrible marriage. When Angel Clare, played by Peter Firth, comes into Tess's life, at first we're happy for them, only to then be upset when Angel has a tough time accepting the realities of Tess's past. Yet as disappointed as we are with Angel's unfair judgment of Tess, it also feels sadly realistic. This probably is how some men treated women back then. Sharon Tate was a fan of the novel, and Polanski dedicated the film to her. It's a moving and ultimately tragic portrait of a woman's struggle to break free of society's shackles. Number 7, The Ghost Rider. When The Ghost Rider came out in 2010, I saw it twice in theaters. It was so cool to see a movie this energetic made by a director who, by this point, was in his late 70s. Co-written by Robert Harris and based on his book, this is just a great old-fashioned political thriller. Pierce Brosnan gives one of his best performances as Adam Lang, a Machiavellian former prime minister, and it's fun to follow Ewan McGregor through the events of the plot as he pieces together the puzzle of a vast conspiracy which he is now a part of. Certainly one of Polanski's most exciting films, The Ghost Rider keeps you guessing. Number 6, Macbeth. In my opinion, Shakespeare typically works better on stage than it does on the screen, but you don't have to understand every bit of the Shakespearean dialogue in order to appreciate Polanski's Macbeth. This movie is big, epic, and truly cinematic. The green fields and ancient castles are wondrous to behold. The violence is extreme. You can practically smell the blood and feel the pain of every stab, every severed head. John Finch plays Macbeth at such a high level of paranoia that you can understand why Hitchcock cast him in Frenzy a year later. Certain sequences in Macbeth shake you to the core, the vile witches exposing themselves, the nightmarish hallucinations of Banquo coming back from the dead, Macduff having a breakdown when he learns that his family has just been massacred, Francisca Annis as Lady Macbeth performing her out-damn spot monologue in the nude. After repeated viewings, I have decided that this is my favorite Shakespeare film. Number 5. Rosemary's Baby. I suppose it's fair to say that Rosemary's Baby is Polanski's most famous film. I first saw it when I was a young teen. It was my introduction to his work, and it instantly made me a fan. I could go into more detail about it, but I'm not sure what else there is to say about Rosemary's Baby which hasn't already been said elsewhere. I'll just say that when I saw it again as an adult, I suddenly found it resonating with me on a deeper level, because it's about a young adult getting ready for her real life to begin, yet slowly gaining the intelligence to understand the secrets behind the scary world around her. Number 4. Frantic. Okay, you're probably wondering how Frantic got higher on this list than Rosemary's Baby. Let me state up front that I'm not necessarily saying that Frantic is a better film, just that on a personal level, I enjoy it a little more. One reason might be because, hey, I'm a big Harrison Ford fan, and in the 80s, he made a ton of good movies, this one included. Although it didn't do so well at the box office when it came out, Frantic has endured as a thrilling entertainment, a Hitchcockian suspense story about a jet-lagged dude who's just trying to find his missing wife. Basically, I find the combination of Ford, Polanski, and Hitchcockian suspense to be sublime. Check out my video essay An Oral History of Frantic for more details. Number 3. Bitter Moon. This movie is so rarely discussed by film scholars these days that I was led to assume it was a minor work in Polanski's filmography. Wow, was I wrong. Bitter Moon is absolutely a major work. In a spellbinding performance, Peter Coyote plays a failed novelist named Oscar, regaling Hugh Grant's Nigel with stories about his screwed-up sex life and how his relationship with Emmanuel Sené's Mimi descended into sadism and madness. I asked Peter Coyote about his memories of making the film, and he recalls that he was so intent on rising to the level of brilliance which Polanski demanded that at the end of the first week, he was so exhausted that he had trouble getting out of bed. Screenwriter Jeff Gross informs me that the film has changed the lives of many of its fans, causing them to think differently about their own relationships or about judging the relationships of other people. Film critic Matt Zoller Seitz once wrote about how it seemed as though Polanski might have been demonically possessed when he made Bitter Moon, because you don't so much watch it as witness it, like a train derailment or a volcanic eruption, and even if you end up despising it, you damn sure know you've seen something unique. I actually have so much more stuff that I want to say about Bitter Moon, but that's going to have to be the subject for another video. Number 2. The Pianist. The Pianist is one of those rare Holocaust films that I never tire of watching. It's a compelling true story of survival, told entirely through the eyes of Polish pianist Władysław Spielman. The movie works so well because it transports us as an audience to a terrifying time, and whenever Spielman is hiding from the Nazis, it's as if we are trapped in there with him, fearing for our own lives. Polanski himself is a Holocaust survivor, and he considers this to be his best film. No wonder, he made it in his late 60s, at an age when most directors have already put their best work behind them. It won him a well-deserved Academy Award for Best Director, and the film also won Oscars for screenwriter Ronald Harwood and lead actor Adrian Brody.
I'd like to thank Roman Polanski for the role of a lifetime.
For a 2.5-hour movie, The Pianist moves like a streak. It's never boring or depressing. It is exhilarating and heartbreaking. To quote film critic Kim Morgan, the dark and brutal truth to the picture, a truth Polanski well understood, is that Spielman and Polanski did indeed survive, but through many random and lucky incidents. Polanski knows his hero is special. We know he is special. But does the universe know he is special? Incredibly moving, gorgeously made, horrific and dark, and yet inspiring and beautiful, The Pianist is already a classic. Number 1. Chinatown. Movies don't get much better than Chinatown. It's pretty much a perfect film, a good story, unforgettable characters, a mysterious atmosphere, and haunting themes about the futility of good intentions. Academy Award-winning screenwriter Robert Towne wrote what some believe to be the finest screenplay ever written. Producer and then Paramount studio head Robert Evans recognized its cinematic potential, and then Polanski came in and shaped it into the masterpiece that it is. As private detective Jake Gittes investigating a 1930s murder case involving Los Angeles' lack of water supply, Jack Nicholson takes the audience onto a complex journey which requires repeated viewings. As water tycoon Noah Cross, John Huston plays the kind of villain who is so ruthless and yet so recognizable from our everyday lives. Film critic FX Feeney once commented that he thinks Polanski made Chinatown because he's a director who loves to work, and although Chinatown is set in LA, a city where he had once experienced terrible tragedy, the script nevertheless must have spoken to Polanski's heart for deep reasons, very specific to where he was in his life at that point. Chinatown's production was rough. Polanski frequently clashed on the set with lead actress Faye Dunaway. He had to make the painful decision to let go of his original DP and his original music composer and hire another DP and another music composer whose work better fit the movie he was making. The film's initial test screenings were so bad that everyone in Hollywood thought it would be a flop. But audiences loved the movie, and Chinatown became a box office success. Ultimately, Chinatown is a film about the powerlessness which we feel whenever evil triumphs, and yet I wouldn't call it a nihilistic film. I would argue that Chinatown is cathartic in the way that it stirs up anger in the audience and gives us thought-provoking things to discuss and contemplate after it's over. All of us in life have experienced the kind of failure which Jake Gittes experiences at the end of the movie, and I think the film's message is learn something from failure. Stop putting evil people like Noah Cross in positions of power. Stand up to them. Fight back. Forget it, Jake? No. Don't forget it. Do something about it. Don't let the quagmires of Chinatown scare you away, because that is what makes the Noah Crosses of the world capable of anything. Thanks for watching.